Le 2 juin 2007, 7:07 de l'après-midi. And one 8-year-old teenager enters a Target store in Overland Park, Kansas. She is excited. She just graduated from high school only 9 days ago. She has a date with her boyfriend that night. She just needs to quickly buy a gift to celebrate their 6 months together. Her name is Kelsey Smith, and in exactly 10 minutes, her life will end. Because at that very moment, inside that same store, there is someone else. Someone who is watching her. Someone who is following her through the aisles like a predator stalking its prey. The security cameras capture everything, but Kelsey has no idea of the danger lurking. Kelsey calls her mother from inside the store. "Mom, where are the gift boxes?" It is the last time anyone will hear her voice, because when Kelsey leaves Target and walks to her car in the parking lot, that someone is waiting. What happens next is captured on video. A brief but violent struggle, a kidnapping in the middle of the parking lot, and the beginning of 4 nightmare days that would end with Kelsey's body found in a forest 20 miles away. During those 4 days, her family searched desperately. Her father, a police officer, used every resource at his disposal. But there was a problem that would cost precious time. A problem that, when finally resolved, was too late for Kelsey, but that would change laws across the United States. This is the story of Kelsey Smith, a story about 10 minutes that changed everything. A story about how a family turned their darkest tragedy into a life-saving legacy, and a story about why every second counts when someone disappears. To understand the magnitude of this tragedy, we first need to know who Kelsey Ann Smith was. Kelsey was born on the 3rd of May 1989 in Overland Park, Kansas. She was the third of 4 siblings in the Smith family. Her parents, Greg and Missy Smith, described her as a bright, fun, and lively young woman. Greg Smith was a police officer, a man who had dedicated his career to protecting others. He never imagined that one day he would not be able to protect his own daughter. Missy was a devoted mother who kept her family together. Kelsey had 2 older sisters, Stephanie and Lindsay, and a younger brother, Zach. They were a close, loving, and normal family. Kelsey was known for her fantastic sense of humor and outgoing personality. She was the kind of person who brought bunches of balloons to school on her friends' birthdays so they would have to carry them all day. She was mischievous, but in the best possible way. She was someone who made life more fun for everyone around her. At Shawnee Mission West High School, Kelsey was active in band, athletics, and theater. She played the clarinet in the school band and was good at it. She loved music, loved acting, and loved being surrounded by friends. She was a dedicated student with big dreams for her future. On the 24th of May 2007, just 9 days before her death, Kelsey graduated from high school. It was a day of celebration for the entire Smith family. Kelsey had been accepted to Kansas State University, where she planned to study veterinary medicine. She loved animals and dreamed of becoming a veterinarian. She had also been accepted into the university's music band, where she would play clarinet in the marching team. Her future was full of endless possibilities. She was 18 years old, a whole life ahead of her, and excited for every second of it. Kelsey was also in a relationship with her boyfriend, John Smith. They had been dating for 6 months, and although that may not seem like a long time to some, for 2 8-year-old teenagers, 6 months feels like an eternity. Kelsey wanted to celebrate, wanted to mark that milestone with something special. So on the 2nd of June 2007, a Saturday night, Kelsey decided to go to Target. To buy a memory book as a gift for John, she planned to fill it with photos and memories of their relationship. It was the kind of sweet and personal gift that showed how much she cared. That afternoon, Kelsey got ready for her date. John was going to pick her up around 8 p.m. She had enough time to quickly go to Target, buy the gift, and return home. Or at least that's what she thought. At 6:30 p.m., on the 2nd of June 2007, Kelsey Smith left her family home in Overland Park, Kansas. She was driving a 1987 Buick Regal, a classic car she loved. Her father, Greg, saw her leave. "I'll be back in a bit, Dad," she said with a smile. Greg had no idea that would be the last time he saw his daughter alive. Kelsey drove to Oak Park Mall, one of the largest shopping centers in the area. The Target she was heading to was located at the corner of 97 and Quivira, just behind the mall. It was a place she knew well. She had been there dozens of times before. There was no reason to worry. It was a normal Saturday afternoon in a safe Kansas suburb. At 7 p.m., Kelsey parked her Buick in the Target parking lot. Security cameras captured her getting out of her car and walking toward the store entrance. She looked happy, relaxed, with no worries in the world. She wore jeans and a t-shirt, Her hair was tied back. She was a normal 8-year-old on a simple mission to buy a gift. Kelsey entered Target. Security cameras inside the store followed her as she browsed the aisles. She was looking for a memory book and also a gift box to wrap it. At some point during her shopping, she took out her cell phone and called her mother, Missy. "Mom, where are the gift boxes?" Kelsey asked. It was such a simple, mundane question. Missy told her where to find them. They chatted briefly. Kelsey told her she would be home soon. Missy noticed nothing unusual in her daughter's voice. There were no signs of distress, no indication that anything was wrong. It was the last conversation Missy Smith would have with her daughter. What Kelsey didn't know, what none of her family knew, was that during the entire time she was in Target, someone was watching her, someone was following her, and the security cameras captured it all. When investigators later reviewed the video, they saw something chilling. A man wearing a white t-shirt and black shorts was following Kelsey around the store. Not obviously, not drawing attention, but he was there in almost every shot. When Kelsey went down an aisle, he appeared shortly after. When she stopped to look at something, he was nearby, watching her. Retired Detective Bob Miller from the Overland Park Police later described the video with a chilling analogy. "Have you seen those National Geographic shows where the predator is circling its prey? That's what you see here." Kelsey spent less than 10 minutes inside Target, found her memory book, her gift box, paid at the register, and left the store. It was about 7:17 p.m. Her shopping had been quick and efficient. John was coming to pick her up in less than an hour. Everything was going according to plan. But outside, in the parking lot, the predator was waiting. Target's outdoor security cameras captured what happened next. Kelsey Smith walked toward her parked Buick Regal in the lot, opened the passenger side door, and placed her shopping bag on the seat. Then she walked around the car to the driver's side, and then he appeared, the man in the white t-shirt and black shorts. He quickly approached Kelsey as she opened the driver's door. What happened next lasted only a few seconds, but it was violent and terrifying. There was a brief but intense struggle. Kelsey resisted, tried to defend herself, but the attacker was bigger, stronger. He forced her into the car. Investigators believe he probably had a weapon, possibly a knife, which he used to threaten her and force her to cooperate. All this happened in a matter of seconds in a parking lot full of cars on a Saturday afternoon, but it happened so fast, so suddenly, that no one saw it. No one intervened. No one called the police. Kelsey's Buick started and left the Target parking lot, but Kelsey was not driving. The attacker was behind the wheel, and Kelsey was somehow being held inside the vehicle, unable to escape, unable to scream for help. The car disappeared into the afternoon traffic and Kelsey Smith disappeared with it. At home, Greg and Missy Smith waited for Kelsey to return. John Beer Smith arrived at 8 p.m. for his appointment, but Kelsey was not there. At first, they were not too worried. Maybe there was traffic. Maybe she had been delayed at the store. They gave her a few more minutes, but when half an hour passed, then an hour, the worry began to grow. Greg tried calling Kelsey. There was no answer. Missy called, straight to voicemail. John called, nothing. This was completely out of character for Kelsey. She always answered her phone, always let them know where she was. Greg, with his experience as a police officer, knew something was terribly wrong. John and Lindsay, Kelsey's sister, decided to go to Oak Park Mall to look for her. Maybe her car had broken down. Maybe she had a problem and couldn't call. There had to be a simple explanation. When they arrived at the mall area, they started looking for Kelsey's Buick and found it. But it was not in the Target parking lot where Kelsey had left it. It was in the Macy's parking lot, across the street from the mall, some distance from Target. John and Lindsay approached the car. It was locked. The Target shopping bag was still on the passenger seat. Kelsey's purse was in the car. Her ID was there, but Kelsey was nowhere to be found. They immediately called Greg. Greg called the police at 9:30 p.m. Approximately 2.5 hours after Kelsey entered Target, she was officially reported missing. What the Smith family didn't know at the time was that Kelsey was already dead. Her body lay in a forest 20 miles away, but it would be 4 agonizing days before it was discovered. Kelsey Smith's disappearance immediately became national news. A young high school graduate, missing from a Target parking lot on a Saturday night in a safe suburb. The story struck a nerve across the country. If it could happen to Kelsey, it could happen to anyone. The Overland Park Police launched a massive investigation. Greg Smith, although a police officer, had to step back and let his colleagues work the case, but he used every contact, every resource he had to help find his daughter. Posters with Kelsey's photo were placed all over Overland Park and Kansas City. Her photo appeared on local and national news. The program America's Most Wanted featured her case. Thousands of people volunteered to help in the search. Meanwhile, investigators worked tirelessly, reviewing the evidence. Kelsey's car was meticulously processed. They looked for fingerprints, DNA, any clue that could lead them to the kidnapper. They found something crucial: a fingerprint on the driver's side seatbelt buckle. Someone who was not Kelsey had adjusted that seatbelt. But the most important clue would come from the security cameras. Investigators obtained video from the 40 cameras at Target, and what they saw chilled them to the bone. They saw Kelsey being stalked by the man in the white shirt. They saw the moment of the kidnapping in the parking lot and, most importantly, they saw footage of Kelsey's vehicle arriving at the Macy's parking lot at 9:17 p.m. The video showed a figure exiting from the driver's side of Kelsey's car and walking away quickly. He was a white man in his 20s, with a goatee, wearing the white shirt and black shorts seen in the Target footage. Investigators released images of the suspect to the public. The response was immediate. Police phone lines were flooded with calls. Hundreds of tips came in. Most were invalid, but some calls stood out. Multiple people called mentioning the same name, Edwin Hall. A woman who had seen the images recognized the subject as her neighbor. When she saw the information about the truck they were also looking for, she called to give the tip. Edwin Roy Hall, known as Jack, 26 years old, from Olathe, Kansas. Investigators obtained his driver's license photo and compared it with the images of the suspect. It was a perfect match. But finding the suspect was only part of the puzzle. They still needed to find Kelsey. And that's where a problem arose that would frustrate the Smith family and eventually change laws across the country. Kelsey had her cell phone with her when she was kidnapped. Investigators knew that all cell phones constantly communicate with cell towers. If they could get the location of Kelsey's phone, they could find her. They could save her. Every second counted. Greg and Kelsey Smith begged Verizon Wireless, Kelsey's cellular service provider, to locate her phone, but Verizon refused. They said that due to privacy laws, they could not provide that information without a court order. Greg Smith was a police officer. He knew how the system worked. He knew that obtaining a court order would take time. Time Kelsey did not have. "I knew locating the phone would be the fastest and most accurate way to find our daughter," Miss Smith said later. But the wheels of justice turned slowly, and while they waited for the court order, precious hours, precious days passed. Finally, 4 days after Kelsey's disappearance, on the 6th of June 2007, Verizon provided the location information of Kelsey's cell phone. It showed that the phone had been in a wooded area near Longview Lake in Grandview, Missouri, about 20 miles from where Kelsey had been kidnapped. Within 45 minutes, search teams arrived at the area, and that's when they made the discovery everyone had feared but hoped to avoid. At 1:30 p.m., on the 6th of June 2007, 4 days after her kidnapping, the body of Kelsey Ann Smith was found in a wooded area near Longview Lake. She was naked, covered with tree branches, with her own nylon belt wrapped around her neck. Her body was also covered with an excessive number of ticks, evidence that she had been there for several days. The autopsy revealed the horrible truth of what had happened to Kelsey. She had been raped and sodomized. The cause of death was strangulation. She was strangled to death with her own belt. Forensic experts determined that Kelsey probably died the same night she was kidnapped, June 2, just hours after leaving Target. During the 4 days her family desperately searched for her. During the 4 days they waited for the cell phone information, Kelsey was already dead, hidden under branches in that forest. When Greg and Kelsey Smith received the news, their world collapsed. Their worst nightmare had come true. Their daughter, who had her whole life ahead of her, who had just graduated from high school, who was going to college, had been taken from them in the most brutal way, but amid their pain, Greg and Kelsey made a promise. Kelsey's death would not be in vain. They would do everything possible to make sure no other family went through what they had, and they would start with the cell phone issue. On the afternoon of the 6th of June 2007, the same afternoon Kelsey's body was found, police arrested 26-year-old Edwin Roy Hall at his home in Olathe, Kansas. Hall was in the process of leaving town with his wife and their 4-year-old son, supposedly on vacation, when the police arrived. Edwin Hall was, on the surface, an ordinary man. He was married, had a small child whom, according to neighbors, he adored, and worked as a packer in a warehouse. He did not have an extensive criminal record, although he had some problems in his youth, including an incident where he hit another child on the head with a baseball bat. Police do not believe Hall knew Kelsey before June 2. This was a completely random attack. Kelsey simply had the bad luck of being in the wrong place at the wrong time and catching the attention of a predator. When Hall was questioned, he initially admitted to being at Target that day but claimed he never approached Kelsey. However, he was caught in a lie when his fingerprints matched those on the security belt buckle in Kelsey's car. Hall was charged on June 7 with first-degree premeditated murder and aggravated kidnapping. Bail was set at $5 million. On August 1, he was indicted by a Johnson County grand jury for murder, rape, and aggravated sodomy. The charges made Hall eligible for the death penalty, which Johnson County District Attorney Phil Klein decided to pursue. Hall's trial was scheduled to begin in 2008, but in July of that year, Hall made a decision to avoid the death penalty. He pleaded guilty to all charges: capital murder, kidnapping, rape, and aggravated sodomy. On the 16th of September 2008, Hall was sentenced to life imprisonment without the possibility of parole. In court, Hall addressed Kelsey's family. "I can't find the right words to say today," he said through tears. "I'm very sorry for what I've done. That's all. That's all I can say." Greg Smith, Kelsey's father, responded after the hearing, "I don't know how sincere he was, but it really doesn't matter. It doesn't change anything. Edwin Hall is currently serving his life sentence at the Hutchinson Correctional Facility in Hutchinson, Kansas. He will never be free again, never have the chance to do this to another young woman. But for the Smith family, no sentence could bring Kelsey back. No punishment could repair the damage caused. All they could do now was make sure her death was not in vain."